Hello, let's trace the impact of Spanish colonization on Colombia, from the arrival of European explorers to the establishment of colonial settlements, the exploitation of indigenous labor, and the lasting legacy of cultural fusion and resistance. Discover the untold stories behind Colombia's evolution with us, from the emergence of agricultural societies to the challenges of insurgencies, drug trade, and political conflicts, revealing the resilience and determination of its people, from hunter-gatherers to agrarian societies. Let's journey back in time to explore the fascinating early history of Colombia. Approximately 12,000 years ago, hunter-gatherer societies thrived near present-day Bogotá, engaging in trade both among themselves and with cultures residing in the Magdalena River Valley. Colombia's geographical location was crucial for early human migration from Mesoamerica and the Caribbean to the Andes and the Amazon basin. Archaeological evidence, including finds from sites like Pubenza and El Totumo, dates back to the Paleo-Indian period, 18,000 to 8,000 BCE, with traces from the Archaic period, 8,000 to 2000 BCE, also discovered in regions like El Abra and Tibito. Notably, the oldest pottery in the Americas found at the San Jacinto archaeological site dates to 5,000 to 4,000 BCE. By 10,500 BCE, indigenous people inhabited Colombia, with nomadic hunter-gatherer tribes engaging in trade and interaction at sites like El Abra and Tequendama. Fast forward to around 5,000 to 1,000 BCE, and we see a transition to agricultural societies, with fixed settlements and the emergence of pottery. Groups like the Muisca, Quimbaya, and Tirona became skilled in farming, mining, and metalcraft, with sophisticated political systems like the Muisca Confederation emerging. These ancient civilizations cultivated crops like maize, potato, and cotton, while engaging in trade networks that spanned the region. The Incas later expanded their empire into the southwest part of Colombia, further shaping the rich tapestry of early Colombian history, Spanish arrival, and colonization of Colombia. Let's explore the fundamental moment when Europeans first set foot on Colombian soil, marking the beginning of a significant era in the country's history. In 1499, Alonso de Ojeda led the first Spanish expedition to Colombia, landing at Cabo de la Vela. Over the following decades, the Spanish made multiple attempts to settle along the north coast, with Santa Marta becoming the first permanent settlement in 1525. However, the founding of Cartagena in 1533 by Pedro de Heredia truly solidified the Spanish presence in the region. Initially fueled by the discovery of gold in the tombs of the Sinu culture, and later by trade, the Spanish were drawn to the Chibchan-speaking areas in search of gold and land, ultimately leading to the conquest of the Chibchan nations, including the Muisca and Tirona peoples. The Spanish advance inland began from multiple directions, culminating in the founding of Santa Fe de Bogotá by Jiménez de Quesada in 1538. Bogotá later became the capital of New Granada in 1549, encompassing much of present-day Colombia. Despite Spanish rule, anti-Spanish sentiment simmered, mainly due to restrictions on trade with other Spanish territories and the flourishing of illegal trade routes. The Viceroyalty of New Granada, established in 1717 and re-established in 1739, further solidified Bogotá's status as a critical administrative center in the Spanish New World, alongside Lima and Mexico City. Thus, the arrival and colonization of Colombia by the Spanish marked a significant chapter in the country's history, shaping its culture, society, and political landscape for centuries to come. Colombia War of Independence. The Colombian War of Independence, occurring from July 20th, 1810 to April 2nd, 1825, was a pivotal part of the Spanish-American Wars of Independence, influenced by the Atlantic Revolutions and the Napoleonic Wars. This period saw the territories of modern Colombia, Ecuador, Panama, and parts of Venezuela, northern Peru, and northwestern Brazil coalesce under the Republic of Colombia, which later dissolved in 1831. Origins and early movements. The immediate trigger was the Colombian Declaration of Independence on July 20, 1810, when the supreme governing junta was established in Santa Fe de Bogotá, rejecting Spanish authority in response to Spain's political crisis post-Napoleon's influence. The rebellion sparked similar movements across Latin America. Political climate and developments amidst Spain's inability to meet its colonies' trade needs and the exclusion of criollos from significant administrative roles, dissatisfaction grew. This led to the drafting of the Memorandum of Offenses by Camilo Torres, advocating for equality and better representation for Spanish Americans, which was a crucial ideological foundation for independence. Formation of juntas in key battles. As Spain's control weakened, local juntas formed, declaring loyalty to King Ferdinand VII, but governing autonomously. Key military actions included the capture of Bogotá after the Battle of Boyacá and the successful resistance during the siege of Cartagena, both pivotal in sealing the Patriots' control. Foolish Fatherland and Reconquest. The period known as the Foolish Fatherland, 1810-1815, was marked by internal strife and division, weakening the independentist efforts and enabling Spain's brief reconquest under Pablo Murillo. This era witnessed severe repression and the execution of many patriot leaders. Liberation and final victory. Simón Bolívar's strategic military campaigns from 1819 to 1824, culminating in the liberation of New Granada and the establishment of a strong Republican presence in northern South America, were decisive. The military efforts consolidated the territories under the Republic of Colombia, marking the end of major hostilities and leading to significant territorial and political changes in Latin America. This condensed overview highlights the critical phases of the Colombian War of Independence, underlining the significant battles, political ideologies, and leaders that shaped the emergence of new nations from Spanish rule. Colombia's democratic journey. Let's navigate Colombia's dynamic political landscape, marked by significant changes and enduring conflicts. In 1863, the nation officially transitioned to the United States of Colombia, later adopting its current name, the Republic of Colombia, in 1886. This period also saw the emergence of two dominant political factions, the conservatives and the liberals, rooted in the ideological clashes between Bolívar and Santander's followers. The conservatives advocated for centralized governance, close ties with the Catholic Church, and a restricted electorate, while the liberals favored decentralized authority, secular education, and expanded voting rights. Both parties alternated in holding the presidency over the 19th and early 20th centuries, maintaining a tradition of civilian rule and democratic elections. However, Colombia's history has also been marred by violent conflicts, including two devastating civil wars between the conservatives and liberals. The Thousand Days War, 1899-1902, and the La Violencia period in the late 1940s and 1950s claimed hundreds of thousands of lives, fueled by political tensions and assassinations. External factors, such as U.S. involvement in the Panama Canal, further exacerbated internal strife, leading to Panama's separation and independence in 1903. Military intervention punctuated Colombia's political landscape, with coups occurring in 1830 and 1854, the latter resulting in the ousting of General Gustavo Rojas Pinilha's regime. While initially famous for quelling violence, Rojas's failure to restore democracy led to his downfall, underscoring the enduring struggle for democratic governance in Colombia. A tenuous pact for Colombian governance. Let's discover the exciting political landscape of Colombia during the mid-20th century, marked by the historic Declaration of Sitges in July 1957. This declaration, proposed by former conservative President Laureano Gómez and former liberal President Alberto Lleras, gave birth to the concept of the National Front. Under this arrangement, the liberal and conservative parties would share power, alternating the presidency every 4 years for 16 years, while maintaining parity in other elective offices. The National Front aimed to quell the violent La Violencia period and implement social and economic reforms with initiatives like the Colombian Institute for Agrarian Reform in Cora, fostering land entitlement for farmers. Despite these efforts, the National Front faced internal contradictions and criticism, with dissidents viewing it as a form of political repression. The fraudulent election of conservative candidate Michel Pastrana in 1970 further fueled discontent, leading to the emergence of guerrilla movements like the M19 and FARC. Although the National Front system was phased out by 1974, its legacy lingered in Colombia's political landscape, influencing subsequent governance structures and contributing to challenges like corruption and legal laxity. Insurgencies, drug trade, and political struggles, 1974-1982. The Colombian governments from 1974 to 1982 were primarily focused on dealing with various insurgent groups challenging the traditional political system. These groups, like the FARC, ELN, and M19, claimed to fight for the poor against the rich, often from a communist standpoint. The M19 especially gained attention with bold actions like stealing Simón Bolívar's sword. Though the ELN faced setbacks, they managed to regroup, partly due to leniency from the López-Michelsen administration. By 1982, the Turbay administration's efforts weakened the insurgent groups, lifting a long-standing state of siege decree. Betancourt's presidency aimed at peace negotiations with insurgents, resulting in ceasefires with the FARC and M19. But the ELN remained defiant. Amidst this, the drug trade's rise escalated conflicts further. Violence between drug cartels, guerrillas, and government forces intensified. The M19 storming of the Palace of Justice in 1985 and subsequent events added to the turmoil. The FARC's involvement in politics through the Patriotic Union faced challenges, and accusations flew from both sides regarding ceasefire violations. The Barco administration inherited these complex issues, including the ongoing struggle against drug lords and escalating violence, further complicating peace efforts. Navigating Colombia's complex path to peace and progress, 1990-2001. In the turbulent years following the 1990s, Colombian administrations grappled with a multifaceted challenge. Guerrillas, paramilitaries, drug traffickers, and the pervasive violence and corruption they propagated. The assassination of 3 presidential candidates by narco-terrorists underscored the gravity of the situation until Cesar Gaviria's election in 1990 offered a glimpse of hope. Pablo Escobar's demise in 1993 marked a turning point, as the once monolithic cartels fragmented into more minor, competing factions, though violence persisted as a tool of protest against government policies. Amidst this backdrop, the 1980s transitioned into the 1990s, witnessing the incorporation of M19 and other guerrilla groups into peace processes, culminating in the 1991 Constituent Assembly elections and the subsequent adoption of a new constitution. Despite mixed practical outcomes and debates over extradition, this constitutional overhaul signified a departure towards a more modern, democratic era. However, contact with the FARC was severed temporarily in 1990, and Ernesto Samper's presidency from 1994 was overshadowed by a political crisis fueled by drug trafficker contributions to his campaign, hampering governance efforts. Andrés Pastrana's presidency from 1998 held promise for peace, but economic challenges and escalating violence posed significant hurdles. Although the FARC and ELN engaged in peace talks, their commitment to ending the conflict remained ambiguous, as evidenced by the FARC's temporary suspension of negotiations in 2000. Amidst these complexities, Colombia navigated a delicate path toward peace and progress, grappling with internal strife, while striving for stability and prosperity. Colombia's journey through political shifts and peace endeavors, 2004-2022. As Colombia entered the mid-2000s, there were signs of improvement in security and the economy. Deep-rooted problems persisted. Political conflicts between the government and Congress, including debates over presidential re-election, hindered progress on critical issues. Álvaro Uribe's presidency marked by a tough stance against guerrillas, drew praise and criticism. While some lauded his efforts in reducing crime, others expressed concerns about human rights violations. Despite the push for military solutions, calls for addressing social issues and protecting civilians grew louder. Uribe's presidency faced constitutional hurdles, eventually ending in 2010. In the subsequent years, he witnessed terrorist attacks by FARC, underscoring ongoing challenges. In 2010, Juan Manuel Santos assumed office, initially backed by Uribe, but later surprising many by initiating peace talks with FARC in 2012. Despite Santos's re-election in 2014 and efforts to revive infrastructure projects, political dynamics shifted with Congress limiting presidential terms in 2015. Peace negotiations between the government and FARC culminated in a historic agreement in 2016, earning Santos the Nobel Peace Prize. The subsequent administration of Iván Duque saw fluctuations in relations with Venezuela and a landmark election in 2022, resulting in Gustavo Petro becoming Colombia's first leftist president. Amidst these shifts, Colombia grappled with its past, while striving for a more peaceful and prosperous future. Colombia's journey is one of resilience and transformation, from the early days of indigenous societies to the complexities of Spanish colonization and the struggles for independence. The Colombian people have demonstrated unwavering determination through periods of conflict and political upheaval. As the nation moves forward, it embraces the promise of peace and progress, reflecting on its past while striving for a brighter future under the leadership of its first leftist president, Gustavo Petro. How has Colombia's experience with insurgencies, drug trade, and political conflicts influenced its modern-day challenges and aspirations? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in to today's video. If you enjoyed what you saw, don't forget to hit the like button and ring the notification bell on World History Explored so you never miss our upcoming videos. Your support means a lot to us. Take care until the next one, and feel free to drop a comment sharing your thoughts. See you soon.